Hello, Zeb Aurelios from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Inside the Force. Carabas. Gotta go, Hera's here.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with me, as always, Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to our final episode of this March 2018, as things are changing in our world and nothing that you will ever see, but we're actually moving our studio here. This is our last episode in this house, Casey.
That's sad.
Last episode in this house. Next week we will be recording from our new studio, 7 houses down the street.
Yeah.
I am moving down the street, so I'm not moving very far, and it's all happening this weekend. So anyway, so we're saying goodbye to this house, and all good things coming, and things are changing as we get into the new place and the new stuff. So thanks for joining us. We are wrapping up what we've done a little bit of this month is really kind of focused on Star Wars Rebels. The series ended this month. We talked a lot about it a few episodes ago about just where all of our thoughts on how the series kind of fits into the whole Star Wars lore and what our thoughts and stuff were about it. This week, how we wanted to finish up was not really harp on that anymore, but really I actually wanted to kind of get Casey's opinion on how it ranks versus Clone Wars, actually, and kind of what each of our feelings were about both series and kind of what each one contributed and how it feels for our fans and stuff like that. So we'll get into that later on as our main topic, but definitely first up we'll hit some news, which has been a little light, I guess, as far as this movie that's coming out in like 57 days. Yeah.
I feel like we've been getting a few little tidbits of information about some of the characters through like toys, and I think it's like leaked images, that kind of stuff. So just a little bit about one of the villains. I guess I'm assuming is the villain. I'm sure is one of the villains, Enfys Nest, which I guess I'm pronouncing that right. It's the character from the trailer that basically looks like Darth Revan with the mask. That has that kind of like savage wilderness look to his costume. He fights Woody Harrelson's character on top of that train, and so which actually that train also that planet also has a name. And I'll pull that up. I just remember that was also released. It's called Vandor.
Oh,
that planet. But so that character though that's fighting Woody Harrelson, and he's shown a couple other times in the trailer. His name is Enfys Nest, which I mean sounds Star Warsy. I think it's honestly a weird name, even for Star Wars. Enfys Nest, or like, because we heard rumors of that was this character's name early on, and I was kind of thinking like it might have actually referred to more as like a clan of people, because I don't know what kind of last name is Nest. Really, that's just a weird last name. So, talks a little bit about just a little bit about his character and how he's part of this kind of gang and stuff like that. So, not too much, nothing too revealing about plot or anything like that. So, we know the name, we know a new planet. There's really not much more besides that. It is all quiet on Han Solo front.
So, yes, 57 days from the day we're recording this right now. It did get mentioned that I think they're releasing it a day early now in the UK.
Of course.
In the States, it's technically still May 25th, but it's Thursday night, May 24th is when I'm sure the tickets will be available. We're less than 60 days out, so I don't know. Any day now, you should be able to buy tickets. I'm assuming, unless they're just waiting a little. Like Infinity War just went on sale like a couple weeks ago, which was about. I think it was just over 30 days, or
yeah. What were we?
I think it was like 40 days or something like that. So I don't know if they're waiting. I don't know if they're waiting. They truly can't wait till Avengers to say.
Surely not. Yeah.
Yeah. May the 4th is too close.
Yeah. No. God,
Sometime in early April. I mean, yeah. But there's no. I don't know how they would. I don't know what's the trigger going to be. If they're just going to say, "Hey, tickets aren't." Infinity War was a new trailer, and then so there is going to probably be a new trailer dropped. I think Ron Howard tweeted out like posters or the soundtrack's the final mix is almost done. Yeah. So it's like the movie's not even done. We're 57 days out, and it's not even done yet. Meaning that you definitely don't have time for a lot of test screenings.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have a critic screening, obviously, still. Maybe a week before, 2 weeks before. It's just not, I don't think a lot of people are going to see this thing before it comes out. But they've seen it. I'm sure, obviously, executives have seen it as they've been making it. So, I mean, I feel like, I guess, but again, there's no going back now. It's not like you can do anything else to it now.
Oh, do you think they're not? And there's not even any marketing still for it. Maybe, I don't know, man. Maybe they aren't that excited about it. Maybe they're not that.
Well, I do think. Well, no, I don't think that's the case. That could be one of the cases. I really think that because they've been rushing to get this thing done and get this, and there was less time since The Last Jedi came out. I mean, if this thing wasn't coming out to December, we'd see all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Leading up until the movie. But since there's that short window, I actually feel like they just don't want to spend as much. Feeling like, okay, if we just to say like Rogue One, they had that whole year, right? Say Rogue One, they spent whatever $50 million marketing the movie.
Yeah,
they spent 50 to get a little over 1.2 billion or something like that. As a marketing person, I just feel like I feel like because of the short time, they're probably only spending 25 million, saying, "Hey, if we get 800,000 or 800 million out of this thing, it's a win."
Yeah.
So it's like we'll see what happens.
Right.
I just think they're not spending as much because they just don't want to. They just want to have a bigger margin of profit.
Yeah.
But that's what your alternative could be. I think that's the dark side.
Yeah, it is. That's what.
Like this is horrible.
We're freaking out about it, but I mean, still based off the one trailer we've seen, so it looks. I think it looks good.
I think it looks fine.
We'll have to wait and see.
Did you see all that controversy about the blaster posters and move?
I saw a headline about it. I just assumed that's what it was about because I remember when they showed that new poster, I noticed like, wow, they removed the blaster. But I didn't think of any political reasoning behind it. So apparently
it wasn't. It was. I think it was Australia that did it.
Okay.
And they just did it because they have a gun. They're trying to enforce the gun policy and all this stuff, and so it was only them. It wasn't like Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
The ones with the blasters are still the official U.S. versions.
Yeah.
So people went off on that, but no big, whatever. Yeah. We just went. So, side note, I guess, film-wise news, Last Jedi yesterday, got released on Blu-ray Ultra HD 4K. So you could pick that up. It's the first Star Wars film released in 4K.
Awesome.
Of course, the packaging, I think, I think right now they're always packaging a 4K with a Blu-ray and a digital, so you can buy all three. I haven't been able to run to the store and grab that, but I will.
The digital release wasn't in 4K, right? Is there a 4K version on iTunes?
There was. I didn't see a 4K version.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I've got the digital version. I didn't see a 4K version. Not saying that it's not, but I don't think I didn't have the option of saying. Oh, you know what? I think I could have bought. I think I could have bought it.
They do 4K digital downloads.
You're right.
Through iTunes, right?
I don't know. I don't buy iTunes. If I buy it, I buy from the Voodoo.
Yeah.
And I think Voodoo. I think it was $30 to buy the UHD one. So I didn't just because I knew I would buy the disc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you can buy it online. Well, I'll talk about that later. Other quick movie news. It was announced that the first 6 Star Wars films, the remastered soundtracks are being released on May the 4th of Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge, New Hope, Empire, Jedi.
I probably won't be able to tell the difference.
I know, but they're re-releasing the soundtracks on May the 4th. New packaging, very simple packaging.
Cool. Yeah.
If you noticed, like everybody else has noticed on these last few films, even though they're still episodic, there's no episode numbers on them anymore, really. Okay. What else you got?
It's pretty, as I said, it's pretty light on the news. Go on our website. Russell's been putting out some reviews still,
Yes.
some of comic series that are out there right now. So go check that out.
Yeah, I'm caught up on Vader, which has been remarkable. Vader has by far been the best comic series that Star Wars has put out. I haven't caught up on Poe Dameron, but I talked to Russ about it. He's really into it. It's getting really, no spoilers, but it's not a spoiler, but it's getting really, really close to Force Awakens. So I think he says he feels like it's coming to an end here shortly. Because Laura Santek is in it, the latest issues. Just keep in mind the Thrawn series, the Thrawn comic that is the novel adapted from the novelization is out there running right now. I think 2 issues are out of the 6 that'll complete that.
You actually just reminded me, I think this happened late last week, but the excerpt from the Thrawn sequel novel.
Yes, I read that.
So
Did you read that?
Read it. It basically sets up what is the plot, I think, for that novel. Vader and Thrawn on a little mission. That seems cool.
Which it clearly takes place between seasons 3 and 4 of Rebels.
They strictly reference those events having just happened.
Correct.
So,
the Rebels just escaped.
Yeah.
And that is kind of why we don't see Thrawn in the first half of season 4.
Yeah.
So it's it's and the way they are positioning Thrawn and Vader.
Yeah.
Kind of like
it's so interesting.
It's kind of like it kind of remind me of Xizor and Vader in Empire or Shadows in the Empire.
Yeah.
Some call him Xizor.
I've heard.
I think it's Xizor,
different,
and then Xizor. I call him Xizor, but
I think I've even heard a third crazy pronunciation. Of
it.
But I always say Xizor.
Xizor. I say Xizor.
I think it's literally like
I need to listen to the audiobook.
Yeah,
for,
I think
Shadows.
they say like
Zazor.
I don't know. Something crazy. Yeah, it's weird. Star Wars.
I always called him Xizor
Right.
because it's Xizor, right?
X. It's like Xavier. It's like Xizor.
Yeah, I don't know.
Xizor.
So anyway, I felt like in that book they were like trying to win the favor of the Empire, and the Emperor, and all this stuff, and it felt like that scene. It was like that.
Yeah, the Emperor. It's from the point of view of the Emperor, right? Is that what it is? How it's written? I can't remember, but you get a lot of internal of the thoughts of the Emperor and how he's observing Thrawn and Vader.
Less from Thrawn like it was in the other novel.
Exactly. And then it just was curious because it's pitting Vader and Thrawn up. Like basically, it seems like Emperor is thinking very highly of Thrawn as like almost apprentice like status, where he's just like one of his top guys.
Yes.
You know, which of course he's Grand Admiral, he's one of the top guys, but like Tarkin level, where he has like big plans for Thrawn to, you know, help rule the galaxy kind of a thing. And it's just weird because now we're adding Thrawn to the canon mix, and so we're kind of having to retroactively put him in stories now to make him fit into everything else. And Filoni did a very creative job of having him skip the whole original trilogy timeline. So now it's just like, how does he fit into the sequel trilogy timeline? But it's curious. It's very, very curious. And they also, in that little excerpt, unpack a little piece of information that was kind of presented at the end of season 4 of Rebels, where Thrawn's TIE Defender project was like, you know, it was pulling a lot of resources from the Empire, a lot of financial resources. It was very expensive to the point where it was rivaling the Death Star. And even then, to the point of they had to make a decision which one to move forward with.
Right.
Like, we either going to spend all this money on Defenders or Death Star. And they kind of reference that in this excerpt. So I like that idea that there are other plans out there that,
yes,
you know, others, in a way, super weapons that... which it's weird to think of, like, these TIE Defenders actually were that big of a presence, or could have been a big presence in the Empire. But thanks to the Ghost Crew, really thanks to Governor Price, because she blew up those daggone fuel tanks.
And it seems like, yeah, I know. And it seems like they, more and more, it's like a lot more people either knew about or suspected about the Death Star.
Yeah, I mean, Thrawn's smart enough to...
Sure. I'm sure he was told.
And then... You know, Tarkin referencing it as Stardust, but which was really cool to hear. So,
because if he's Grand Admiral, I mean, there's no other Grand Admirals, are there? I mean, he's it.
That's it.
He's in charge of the
head of the admirals.
Yeah, the fleet, basically.
Right under Tarkin, I would imagine.
And I love how they mentioned Chimera.
Yeah,
as his Star Destroyer, because I couldn't remember if they mentioned that in Rebels.
I think
they did
first time previous season 3, I think early on they mentioned it.
Because I know they mentioned it. I think they mentioned it in the novel, but
well, and that was his ship's
that's
name
when he got it.
In
right?
Legends.
Yes, correct.
So it's like
totally
they brought that over.
They did. That's why it was so cool to see. Yeah,
I love it. And again, the Pelion reference.
Yeah,
so cool. Anyways,
another novel news. Remember that. So that book comes out not till July, I think. Is that right? I think it's July.
That sounds about right. June?
I'm looking it up right now. It's
June.
July 24th.
July 24th.
Oh, the release of Thrawn Alliances, because I already pre-ordered it. But what's in my wish list that we can't forget is Last Shot. By Daniel Jose Older. That actually comes out April 17th here very shortly. So in just like 1, 2, 3 short weeks.
I'm going to have to clear my schedule to read that.
Yes.
Or listen to it or something.
So I'm going to listen to that as soon as that comes out. So Last Shot, which is your precursor to Solo, follows him jumping through time on that one. That's not just like... and I feel like it's him and Lando. A lot of their relationships. So,
well, did you read the excerpt from that book?
I did not read that one
because the excerpt is in the story that takes place. Actually, I think it's 3 years after Return of the Jedi, where it's an older Han with a 2-year-old Ben Solo.
2-year-old Ben Solo,
and that one's really cool too. That's a great excerpt because Lando's in it and. That's awesome.
He's in it after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting with this audiobook though. Actually, is normally there's one narrator. This actually has 3 narrators. My favorite, Mark Thompson. Daniel Jose Older is a narrator of it, and then January Lavoie, who has done a ton of Star Wars books as well that I've listened to. For those of you familiar, she's done. She did she did Phasma. She did Journey to. She did Legends of Luke Skywalker. She did The Perfect Weapon, which was that short story. And then she did Bloodline. So very, very good narrator of these books. So I'm looking forward to that. Mark Thompson being my favorite too. So it sounds like hopefully that she's maybe doing the female voices. I don't know. Maybe that's how they're doing it.
So it says all three of them. Does it say like they're doing the specific stories, or they're just all three?
It just says narrated by Mark Thompson,
sweet.
Daniel Jose, and January LeBoy.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they're all three just sharing duties.
Because it's not different stories. I think it's just one story, right?
The Last Shot.
Yeah,
no, it's several stories. It's what it's like.
I mean, I know it's different time frames, but it's still one novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 stories in one novel, right? In one book.
Okay, you're saying each timeline is each time.
There's a story in this book. There's a story that takes place with Lando and his droid before Solo. There's a story that takes place with Han and Chewie right after Solo, and then the story set after Return of the Jedi. With
okay.
Solo.
So maybe they're each narrating. Each
Probably,
story, I guess.
But it'd be cool if they all share duties, because I've seen it before where it's multiple narrators on the same story. You have the females doing the female voices.
That's
and the male voices.
what I've always thought they should do, but I know they probably just want to pay one narrator.
Yeah.
But because Mark Thompson, so again, keeping up with the novel news, I just finished up the novel to Last Jedi, and Mark Thompson read that, and I'm just blown away. Because there's some voices on there. I'm like, how does he do that? How is he nailing all of these voices? Because he's got, the way he shifted from Kylo to Luke. I mean, even Rey, he's got her accent down. It's like, nice. It's phenomenal. So, real quick review of that book. It's really, really good. I actually really, really enjoyed it. I think that it's obviously a true representation of the movie, except that there are extra scenes in it. And it even says it on the cover, extended version or whatever. So I guess, again, assuming that this is all canon, there's a couple significant things in there that change how I feel and view The Last Jedi. One in particular, I will say, and I hope this is, spoilers if no one wants to know this, but it's just part of it. But one in particular, and I think I ran it by you, but one in particular is the scene where Rey has just come out of the dark cavern of the island and is sitting there telling her story about being alone to Kylo, right? And Kylo's like, "You're not alone." And she reaches out and he takes the glove off, and when they touch. So in the movie, right when that happens, Luke busts in, no, and then like the whole thing shatters, right? Yeah. And then he has that little fight with Rey. Well, in the novel, before that happens, he's actually out on the island, just kind of, surveying and with his thoughts. Well, he comes to the conclusion, truly comes to the conclusion and says, you know what? I am going to leave. I'm going to go help my sister. I'm going to go fight the First Order. I'm going to bring back the Jedi. He makes this full conclusion.
Yeah.
Exactly what Rey came to get out of him. But then suddenly when he sees this, I guess, when he shows up and sees this, he changes his mind back right away. That he's... Because right away he says, leave this island. As he's walking away, like... Not that, hey, guess what? I was going to come with you, but I'm not going to come with you anymore. It's like that really threw me off. That because it changes to me. I felt like that needed to be in the movie because even though I don't agree how fast he turned it on and turned it back off necessarily, but that would have been neat to see that realization out of him because in the movie you just feel like he never came to that. Ever. He did decide to help, when projecting himself, but he never fully came to that decision of, I need to leave this island and help. You know what I mean?
You know, when you told me that for the first, 'cause I haven't read it yet. I was thinking back through the film. Did that moment where he's like talking to himself and convinces himself, does that happen after he reestablishes a connection to the Force? Because we see that in the movie.
When does he do that in the movie?
Doesn't he like in that where that?
I never thought he did until the
thing?
end.
Well, he did. That's how he destroys the he destroys the like he's completely shut off from the Force, and then I thought like there's a scene in the movie where he has a moment where he kind of like establishes that connection again, and then
I mean he uses it to grab that thing. He uses the Force to grab it.
Explode the hut.
Oh yes,
like before that, like the scene before that, wasn't there a scene where he kind of like has like a moment where he connects? I could be totally wrong.
I don't think so.
But I was thinking,
I don't think so.
Like that's why he's also approaching Rey in that hut to like go in there to tell her, "Hey, I'm willing to come and help you and fight the First Order, basically, and come out and leave the island." So that, I was trying to think like,
is there a Force connect? I don't.
Well,
think
I was trying to justify that motivation switch.
Oh,
well, why was he even going to Rey's hut in the first place in the film? Probably to like, was he in the book? Does it say he was going to Rey's hut to tell her, like, I'm going to fight?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think we know where in the movie. I don't think we know where he's at because this whole time we saw Rey, just down there in the cave.
See the movie again,
right? Because you remember she's in the cave,
Yeah.
and then the narration of that scene starts while she's still down there, and it shows those two figures and everything, and then it becomes one. She's like, I thought I was going to get the answers.
Yeah. So does Luke's
So there's no Luke
moment in the book? Is that in between?
No, that's before that.
Before the cave.
Before the cave. So as soon as like he has this realization, then it cuts to her. Well, I'm sorry. So she I think if I remember correctly, the book, she does the cave thing, has his scene, and then she's sitting there talking to Kylo about it.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he comes busting in. So yeah, it's just kind of weird. And then other cool things. There's a little more with Leia. The one I thought was really cool. A lot of people might not agree with me on this, but when she's ejected into space, and she's dying basically, and it's cool how she talks. She describes how she's sensing the Force and using the Force. Like she reaches out and she says she can sense the life leaving all of the other
everybody else
resistance, whatever. Like she even mentions, I think Akbar, like how he dies, and she feels the life leaving her, and then she starts tapping into the microscopic organisms in and around all things. So not just in, you know how like that was a little different to hear too. How Qui-Gon described them as microscopic beings living in our cells.
In my cells.
Where she says, I started sensing. I've tapped into the microscopic organisms in and around all living things. So almost like they're in space in a sense.
They're just floating everywhere.
I guess. I don't know. Or maybe they're part of they left the life force. I don't know. Anyway, so she basically talks about midichlorians without saying midichlorians. And I thought that was pretty neat. And that's actually what helps her guide her back to the ship. Is like she's not floating like Mary Poppins, like a lot of people.
Super Leia.
It's like I think it's almost like these microscopic organisms are propelling her.
I wonder if that is how you would describe just the Force in general, how you're moving rocks, how you're making objects move.
It's possible
with the Force. It's just these midichlorians that are like you can't see, but they're like picking objects up and they're carrying it over to you.
I know. I know. I don't know.
That's crazy because then
that's more scientific.
It is, but again, that's the debate. Like Matt Rainey's big debate. It's like it takes the magic out of it. Where to me, it adds a scientific aspect of it that is there if you want to see it that way, but also it still is magical because you're still communicating to these organisms.
Yeah.
There's a magical connection there. I see it, and then
there's a almost like a spiritual
yeah.
connection that you have to make
to where
because not everybody can do it.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be one thing that everybody can do it, but not everybody can do it.
So that's pretty cool.
I thought it was pretty neat. I want to listen to it again and make sure I got all the facts right about it. But it was
that explains that just makes me think of it differently. Where even Sidious talking about Plagueis manipulates the midichlorians to create life. Where it's like it's matter in a way. Like midichlorians is a matter. It's
yes.
a thing, and they uses those to manipulate. It's interesting. It's an interesting way to see it.
And it's also interesting on the other side because like what they've described now, dark side users they bend the will to the force to their will, so you're almost forcing the midichlorians to do things versus on the light side I almost ask them to in a sense, you know what I mean, like so.
And so if you see it as a physical thing like midichlorians, then it makes more sense on how it makes easier comprehension of bending it and breaking it and forcing it and turning it into something that it's not.
Correct. Almost using it against their own will in a sense, right? Because they're there to assist, to help. Or I don't know. Yeah, it's
cool. I like that.
I mean, we haven't heard anything like that. Obviously, we're just making an assumption, but that's not a bad.
This is a
theory,
force philosophy,
yeah,
theology, whatever you want to call it.
But we know half the audience out there probably doesn't care about midichlorians.
Like, I don't even think I don't even acknowledge their existence.
Yeah,
sorry, people.
No,
you can't a la carte Star Wars. All or nothing.
That's right. But the again, the novel I highly recommend it. It's pretty good. It's an easy, quick read. I think it's a short. It's only like 9.5 hours, I think, on the audio book. But there's a lot else in there. I mean, there's a lot in there about again, what you get to hear what people are thinking more, like what Kylo's thinking with Snoke, and that whole scene I thought was, even just listening to it, was really incredible with Rey in there and Snoke describing his. And the way he did Snoke, man, oh my gosh, it's incredible.
Good, cool.
They affected it in a way where it sounded more echoey. It wasn't as strong as Andy Serkis's. It was the same style, but it was like it almost sounded like he was talking to him, like in a room with a microphone.
Like a reverb,
almost. So it was weird in that sense, but he got the tone down and he got the pacing down of it. It's pretty cool. Pretty awesome.
Did they talk about the specs of the ship, of the Raddus ship with the shields?
No, they did not.
They didn't explain the shield
thing?
They
did not explain the shield thing.
I feel like they would have.
Yeah.
And that's in the visual dictionary, I believe, of Last Jedi.
Yeah, you explained it. Whereas little ships can be protected.
Well,
that's why it's
like
a bigger.
This is a specific
radius.
Shield type for this ship. Where it's like the Raddus ship projects its shield further beyond its actual hull, so that it can protect smaller ships that are within the shields.
Yep, that makes sense
from like the heavier blaster fire.
But, and I was going to save this. I was going to save this topic or the shields topic for a whole nother thing. But so that is a shield type where you can fly in and out of, I guess.
Well, I mean, it stops energy. It stops energy, so it stops a certain kinetic force. So like Phantom Menace, the Battle of Naboo, with the droids walk through the Gungan shields, but the blasts can't penetrate.
Right.
So like. And I've read that before, where the shields are designed so that they stop the energy, kinetic energy of a blast, but like a organic being or just an object kind of casually can walk through it, basically. So it's.
But the only again, I don't want to get too detailed into this, but
is a video topic here, maybe.
Yeah, but the only reason I question that is because of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
When they're approaching General Grievous's ship, well, did you notice the shields are up?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, because
So
normally they could have just flew right through it.
So
technically,
that is a specific type of shield that can't do it. I mean, I feel like the norm is, there's a shield you can't on a ship. If a ship has its shields up, you can't get into that ship. You can't hit
except
it.
the Radis.
Yeah. So the Radis is a specific. I mean, it's not a combat ship. I guess it's more specific for a assistance. I don't know, because it wasn't firing back at anything, right?
No, it wasn't
At
firing
any ship,
back.
so maybe it doesn't. I need to look at the visual dictionary because it might not have many weapons,
It might
powerful
not.
weapons. So it's more of a ship that just kind of is for protection of other. Smaller
And I
ships.
guess, and again, for
Cargo,
example,
whatever.
shields, like when they destroyed the big ship, what was it called? The
in Last Jedi,
the beginning, yeah.
that dreadnought,
The dreadnought.
yeah.
So I'm assuming that blaster bolts couldn't affect the dreadnought, but dropping bombs on it
Those kind of
does.
bombs, yeah.
So it's like shields can withstand, whatever. I don't know.
Certain
It's
like overheating,
attacks,
like
and
overheating.
I guess, I don't know. I'm going to do more research on shields and then I want to talk about it because I'd like to get, because there's just a lot of talk, just like there's a lot of talk on fuel, there's a lot of talk on shields. Like the original trilogy, it's like, angle to rear deflectors, but deflectors, that's shields on basically.
deflector
right?
shields. It's that,
Deflector shields, yeah. So it's like,
they're always putting
because you see TIE fighters like tagging the Falcon like every episode, 4, 5, and 6, but it's not fully damaging it. It's getting there. Shield's depleting. Just like you in the video games, you have a shield, and when you get hit, it just takes a little longer for you to get destroyed. But anyway, whole topic on shields later. We'll do that sometime. Great welcome for us in the content category. We have the second season of Force of Destiny that was just released as well. 8 brand new episodes got released on Disney's YouTube channel back on March 19th. It actually just aired, I think, on television this weekend.
Yeah, I saw some.
Wasn't
of
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually really that's neat in the sense that in these episodes, Maz isn't in the individual episodes. Setting up this, that's what I love about the half hour they show on Disney.
It's like a little storyline.
It is, because she kind of talks about and sets up the, and then, I don't know if you noticed. Did you notice there was a tweet out of a freeze frame of all those objects?
I figured there was a lot because again, I was watching it, had distracted because I was playing with my little boy, but I saw that shot, and then I quick notice. The only thing I saw was the medallion, Luke's medallion that he got, or Luke or Han's, I think it was. From
everybody's
throne ceremony.
Everybody's saying that was Chewbacca's lost one.
Okay, hilarious. That is hilarious. Yeah. So
Maybe he gave it to Maz.
yeah. So I saw that, but I was thinking like, I bet there's a lot of stuff there.
There's the staff of Rao
Okay.
from Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Sweet.
You know what I'm talking about?
With the thing at the top.
Yes.
No,
So that's
rock.
laying there apparently.
Yeah. That's funny.
There's like one of those small space slugs. Like someone couldn't tell if it was like a doll or an actual stuffed version. I don't know. Oh man, but there's some other stuff too. I can't remember really, but there's a lot of Easter eggs in that. All her stuff.
That's fine. Look it up real quick.
Yeah, and I'll mention so if you haven't seen it, go to Disney on YouTube. The playlist is also on StarWars.com's YouTube, or Star Wars' YouTube. The episode titles, you got Hasty Departure, which features Sabine and Hera. You've got Unexpected Company, which is Anakin, Padme, and Ahsoka. This one was really, really good because it brought back Matt Lanter, brought back Catherine Tabor, who voiced Padme in the Clone Wars, and of course Ahsoka Tano. So you got your Clone Wars characters back there. You got Shuttle Shock with Rose and Finn. This happens on the ship going to Canto Bight in The Last Jedi. You got Jin's Trade, which is Jyn Erso, which is a little cute one. I can't tell if I feel like every one of hers takes place at what looks like Lothal.
That same kind of planet from the
but it
first
never really
series.
says it, so I don't know. You've got another Rey one, Run Rey Run, takes place on Jakku again, of course. You've got two awesome ones from basically the original trilogy. You've got Bounty Hunted, which features Leia, Chewbacca, Maz, and the bounty hunter Bausch, which explains how she got the outfit that she wears in Return of the Jedi. Awesome. That, of course, negates, which we knew was the legend story of Shadows of the Empire, which had a different way of her getting the outfit. And then probably my favorite, The Path Ahead, where Luke, played by Mark Hamill, is on Dagobah training. So this is during Empire Strikes Back. Great episode. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's Tom Kane voicing Yoda.
Sounded like Tom Kane.
Yeah. And then the last one is Porg Problems, which is on The Last Jedi, on the island where Rey is training. The Porgs interrupt her training and steal a lightsaber and all that stuff. So those are your 8 episodes. Really, really good. Go check those out. Star Wars Forces of Destiny. I feel like it's the first episodes, first part. They'll probably have a second volume of season 2, I'm assuming. I think they mentioned the other episodes are coming. Because if I remember, no, I don't remember. I can't remember if if they released a kind of a hint of other ones to come. Side note, I don't know if you saw this. I saw this in a tweet too, because I'm not up to speed on the Star Wars comic, the main title. Have you seen this? Where
the Porgs?
No,
I saw something about that. Yeah.
So I saw a tweet that said they tweeted out. So this just happened, and they had there's a page in one of the, I think it's the latest issue, which is 44 or 45. But there's it's like it's like a gathering of all the rebels. Mothma's up on the stage, and Leia's walking, and the caption, it's like a wide shot. It's a caption of Mothma saying, "Leia, we expect your report on Mon Cala," or something like that, because there's something going on in Mon Cala. And the shot of is Leia's her turning to have you seen this? It's her turning to Mothma. Now this takes place, obviously they're still searching for a new base, so this takes place between 4 and 5. Well, standing in the gallery turning back to her is Hera and Zeb.
That's cool.
Because so it was like, this just happened. And it was weird because I read it. I was like, I kept reading Mothma's line. I'm like, what is he talking about?
But then
I look down. I'm like, holy cow! There's
pull that up.
There's freaking Hera and Zeb.
That's great.
They got these smirks on them, like they're smiling at the camera. Not
like, it's us. It's us.
It's so cool, and I got to go read that. But Zeb, thankfully he's still around after the Battle of Yavin, after Rogue One, right? So he's probably on the Ghost in Rogue One, I'm assuming.
Yeah, probably. I mean, heck, they all probably are. Callus.
Well, I don't know because maybe Callus, but Hera, Sabine and Hera, or Sabine and Ahsoka are probably gone, I guess.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know when they left.
When Ahsoka
that was after
back in the picture. Sabine's probably still in Lothal.
Yeah, but when they left, was that after Endor? That was after Endor.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
so how long were they on Lothal? Yeah, because Hera left for Rogue One for Scarif.
And Zeb probably just went with her.
Zeb was probably on there, but Sabine could have been on there. That's true. Sabine.
We definitely need to get a comic series or some books about Ahsoka's time.
Yeah, because we have no idea when she came back. We have no idea yet when she came back.
That's got to be an ongoing comic series. Yeah. Has to be.
I agree. So anyway, so awesome shout out in the comics
Oh, yeah, I
that
see
they're
it.
around. Do you see it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They're just like turning a little bit over.
Yeah,
looking
and
over
they're
their
the only
shoulder.
ones turning.
Yeah.
They're the only ones looking back. So they got
funny.
these smirks on their face, right? Like, hey, it's us. Love it.
Very cool.
All right, so that's roughly everything we wanted to kind of. I'll mention this. I'll wait till Casey watches it in order to talk highly about it. But the documentary on the digital, when you buy the digital or buy the Blu-ray with The Last Jedi, the Director and the Jedi documentary is phenomenal. It's its own movie. It's like an hour and 40 minutes long. It is phenomenal. It recounts. It follows Rian Johnson and his producer. I think is Ron Bergman. Is it Ron? They've been working together forever, but those guys, it follows them all the way through, like the whole production of this movie, and it's pretty incredible because they were planning, they were starting stuff before Force Awakens even got out, right? I mean, even
Yeah.
I think Force Awakens wasn't even shooting yet, and they were already planning on stuff. And there's a really cool scene where during the production, the part in the cave where Luke mentions about the story about Sidious and stuff like that. That part,
Yeah.
I think that's the temple actually.
Yeah, they're in the
Right. So there's a scene. They're setting up something in there, and Luke's sitting there, or Hamill's sitting there on the side, and it's a very long shot, like where the documentary camera was, like across the whole courtyard thing. And you see Rian Johnson walking up to Luke, and he says, "Hey," and you can just because they have mics on, you can hear their voice talking. And Ryan goes, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm good." And he just happens to lean over and says, "The Last Jedi." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "That's what I'm going to call this movie, The Last Jedi." He goes, "No one knows about this yet." He's like, I think he said, other than Kathleen, no one knows about it. And Mark goes, "Wow." And you know what he said? He says, "I'm actually glad you told me now and not at the beginning." He goes, because that would put a lot more pressure on me. Or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's really neat. It was really neat how he did that.
It's a feature-length documentary, right?
Oh yeah, it's like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah,
It's long.
sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though. Anyway, okay. Real quick before we get into our main topic here, your quick thoughts, because you haven't had a chance to say the hiring of Jon Favreau for the live action series. I had a guest on here a couple weeks ago, Evan Lewis from JodoCast, who, because I think I had him on here as soon as that thing broke, So I talked about it a little bit, but you haven't had a chance on here and just to mention it. So go.
No, I think it's great. I'm very excited. I've always been a fan of Jon Favreau. It's interesting that it's his first time doing this role for Star Wars, where he's been the acting side for Star Wars years past.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'll cast himself in this somehow. It'd be kind of funny. This time maybe be actually in front of the camera, not a voice. I can't speculate on like plot. I have no idea.
Right.
I'm worried that they'll keep it safe still and take place in the same timeline that we're in. Just
I think
with
that's a given.
Rebels, Empire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's most likely going to be that. I'm just fair. I mean, we're going to be getting it a year from now, so maybe a year and a half from now. So end of 2019 probably.
Yes.
But no, I can't be more excited. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I hope he'll probably direct the pilot. I hope he directs more than just that. But
I'm not sure.
Really?
He'll direct, because I mean he's listed as just writing and executive producing.
Yeah, you don't think he'll do the first one?
I guess he could. I mean most most guys that are tasked with developing a series usually do the first one. You know,
I don't know. I mean,
like what just comes to my head is like when Frank Darabont did Walking Dead.
yeah. Same thing with House of Cards. Fincher did the first episode.
Right. And JJ, I think, did the first of Lost, you know. So I think it's possible he'll probably will. But do you think I mean, I feel like it's going to be like a Netflix series where it's like 12 episodes all released at one time. Yeah. So is that your feeling how this is going to get? I mean, the streaming service, I don't think you can like say come back every week and
Netflix is doing that.
They are?
They've doing it with 2 shows. With David Letterman's got a new talk show, and they're doing they're releasing it. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily weekly.
I mean, that's more reality. I mean, that's like interview talk show. I get that
talk show type.
Yeah,
there's another show like that.
But on scripted Netflix. Shows, they're not.
It hasn't happened yet.
They're not doing that. I don't think they're binge because they want you to binge watch everything. Yeah, right. I mean, who's not going to binge watch all 12 episodes of Star Wars when it comes out, right?
I mean, so much content. That's like 12 hours of Star Wars.
And is it Netflix that came out with that futuristic show, Carbon or something like that?
Altered Carbon,
right? Yeah, I heard it was okay story, but I heard visually it's unbelievable. And a lot of people mentioned how Star Wars could look like that. Very futuristic. It's got a lot of production value to it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I have no doubt that we're finally in a good place to where, like a TV show, like a Star Wars TV show, could look good. You know, the effects, everything. It's been proven for years now that TV shows can be at the caliber that the movies were. 15 years ago, 10 years ago. So I am excited. I think it's going to be. It'll do great. I'm sure they'll get the best talent.
Because it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder how back when George was trying to develop this, you know, he was stuck on. Okay, we got to put out 22 episodes a year because that's what network television makes you do, right? You have these weekly shows. There's 22 episodes in a season. You know, sometimes there's 24, sometimes there's 20, whatever. But there's 20 plus episodes. It makes you wonder how he didn't think of like, why don't I just do 12?
Yeah.
And put it out online or something. You know, I don't know. You know, him being such an innovator, you would think he'd be like, no, I'm just going to do it my way and not be succumb to Fox is what I'm assuming it would show up on at that time because Fox had the distribution rights. Because then he could have it been less money.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think they were still talking about it being 20, or 10 million an episode or something like that, which was astronomical then.
And he said he had 50 scripts.
I thought it was 100 scripts.
Oh, really? 100?
Yeah, I thought it was 100 scripts.
I mean, that would be, that's enough for syndication.
And it's like 5 seasons, right? If you do 20 episode seasons. But now it's almost 10 seasons.
It's got like, I just hope those scripts are being carried over into some other idea.
But do you think at all that is into this live action? You think at all? Because I don't think so.
I don't think so. Like those ideas sounded too mature for what. I don't know. I just always got the feeling that it was a very adult,
more dark and
gritty than what Disney wants to do right now.
True.
So I hope those ideas will come back later, or I just want them to be published so I can at least read them. I'll be so excited to read 100 Star Wars scripts of like an underworld TV show. That'd be so cool.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think he'll do great. I think Jon Favreau was.
I do too.
About time. Yeah, I thought it was inevitable he'd get something like this. I was surprised it was a TV show. I thought it'd be a movie, but nonetheless,
I kind of did too.
I think it's a good choice.
But those type shows, 12 episodes at one time, I mean, it's basically one big long movie in a sense. You know, I mean,
that's probably how Star Wars can keep its exclusive and it's like its mystique of, because I've heard before where it had such a great mystique where movies will come out like the two trilogies were like 15 years apart. And now we're even the prequels and the sequel trilogy they were released still like 10 years apart. So you can have multiple TV shows, Star Wars TV shows, perhaps going at one time, and still have your movies come out every 2 or 3 years, every 3 years for like a trilogy, and then like the next trilogy not happen but 5 or 10 years later.
Right.
So I think that would be. I would probably rather have multiple TV shows than multiple movies, just because it's more content.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah.
If they had to.
Well, I think
either
next
or.
year. Obviously, next year we get episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
We get this streaming service. I still think there's an animated series that's going to be announced.
That's the thing. It's like animated series. You have your live action series. I don't see why you can't do
2 movies a year.
Another movie, yeah, 2 movies a year would be great. I mean, I don't see why you can't do another TV show and another animated show. I mean,
yes,
you just get the crew. It's different crews working on it. So why not do it at the same time?
Not? Yeah. Do you think because of the streaming service we would actually get a network live action show, or you think it would always be on?
I think they're going to keep things like that's
on
why.
The streaming service?
That's why I think they're waiting. They would wait for an animated series to be announced, or when it's announced, that'll be on the
streaming service as well,
not Disney XD.
Yeah.
You know,
so you think they're taking everything off cable?
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe Forces of Destiny could stay.
Because if you think of like what they did with Marvel, right? It's like they have Shield on ABC, but all of their Defender guys are on Netflix. So it's almost like you could do a couple series that are tied. See, what I hope is what they, a lot of people. I think a lot of people appreciate this. What they do with the Arrow universe. Mm-hmm. Like I hope that every Star Wars series kind of references somehow or is tied to the other. Mm-hmm. Like I think that would be really cool. Mm-hmm. Like what they did with Daredevil and Jessica Jones and all that stuff. Like it'd be neat to have crossovers, like characters from one series show up on another, but I kind of agree with you. I would say stay away from network, put it all on streaming. I'm going to pay for it anyways. That doesn't really matter. But get away from, I mean, cable's going, all that stuff's going away. I mean, that's eventually, I mean, I hate to think people think, but
as soon as the Disney streaming service comes out, I'm probably going to drop my DirecTV Now, which is the only reference to cable I even have.
Yeah.
Even though it's streaming cable, but it's not really true cable.
No.
Because I'm only holding on to DirecTV Now because it gets me access to Disney Channel app and all the other apps that I can watch shows on. So I don't need Disney. It's got all the movies. It's got all the shows.
I know, right?
So and I got a kid who'll be like a year and a half, 2 years old by then. So bring it on.
Yeah, I might look into. I've been actually looking into that YouTube Live.
Yeah,
I might try that for a little bit, but again, I'm with you. I'm doing less and less live TV. I'm really just kind of watching things on demand now, or I DVR a lot of stuff. That's the only reason I really catch up on stuff. But anyway, all right. Last thing to talk about. Let's close out this Rebels thing and just give our sense of looking back, because I've actually been going back and watching a lot more Clone Wars. I've been catching up with, kind of when I'm just doing laundry or something like that, or just messing around. I have time playing, and I'm seeing it with different eyes now, because obviously when I watched it when it was airing, I didn't have as much material as I do now with all the books and the comics and all the new movies, and of course Rebels. So it actually truly still holds its own, even though it's been 10 years or so since it came out, and lasted for about 5-6 seasons. So I'll start off by saying that really the question is there a clear cut, like which was better in a sense, which one was just which overall do you prefer? Like if you were to sit down and say, I'm going to watch a series, would you watch Clone Wars or would you watch Rebels? So I'll start off by saying I think that even though there are significant additions to Star Wars that came from Rebels. And I love, I actually probably would say, I would actually say Kanan was probably my favorite character in Rebels. And all the things that happened with him and with the crew. But I actually prefer Clone Wars. Right now, I'd say I prefer Clone Wars over Rebels mainly because, to be honest, mainly because of the clones. I think that series added so much humanity.
Yeah.
And to these characters that obviously everybody thought was just soldiers. But you find out in that series how much personality each of them actually had. They weren't the same person. They were all individual people. They were just programmed to fight a war and to die for each other and to listen to the Jedi.
Yeah.
But they all had their own likenesses and the only thing I wish was that you never got that sense when you just watched episode 3 because in episode 3 they all still look the same.
Yeah.
There's not some of the guys don't have shaved heads or tattoos or we never got to meet Rex live action, because he's a great character and he ends up coming back in Rebels, obviously. But I don't know. I think the clones themselves, the way that George and Filoni introduced those clones to us, that made that series. And on top of that, obviously you had your main characters, but to me that wasn't what sold the series. I felt like the clones are actually what sold the series, and I feel like that made a lot of things in Empire or made a lot of things in Revenge a lot more significant. Was the fact that when they turn against the Jedi, Commander Cody handing Obi-Wan that lightsaber, right there, that's a true show of compassion for chain of command. Like you're the boss, and here's your weapon. And then all of a sudden, like that, he fires at him. It's like, but his history now with Obi-Wan through the Clone Wars, that he's always been there for him. He's always fought with him. Obi-Wan saved his life a few times. It's like, it's a pretty crazy, tragic story, and one that George came up with that I thought was incredible. But anyway, I do going back now too, watching it. I really, really enjoy the Clone Wars, and I think it's a series that didn't get its due justice. It didn't end correctly. Maybe it never will. I mean, there's still hope, I guess. Something could come about. I just hope that we still get more material.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's comics. I don't care if it's a novel. I want more Clone Wars stories, personally. Whereas I feel like we're done with Rebels. Yeah. And I don't need any more stories of where that series goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's tough. I mean, because I keep thinking it's hard to generalize if I like one more than the other, because in terms of animation, I love the Clone Wars animation a lot better. I think it gets more visual to me, and it kind of speaks to me a little more. But then
it got better every year.
Yeah. And so the Rebels animation, I think, got better as well. But again, I prefer Clone Wars animation. But what I love so much about Rebels is just how it connects to everything else. I mean, some people will think that's bad, like that don't like that, because you're filling in gaps that aren't really there to begin with. It's like you're creating your own problems of creating these new characters and saying like, oh no, they exist during the original trilogy, you just don't see them. And then having to figure out, how do we explain their absence, or how to explain their presence and why we don't see them in the movies, that kind of thing. So I like that. I like that they're adding and expanding these characters and putting them in all these other stories. And I love the connections that we got with Lando and Leia and all these other, the Maul and Obi-Wan stuff, and Vader and Ahsoka. Like, it was brilliant. Dave Filoni is brilliant. but it's still, I don't think it would be as good without Clone Wars. I think it all comes back to Clone Wars, and I think Clone Wars is I like Clone Wars better. I still need to go back and watch them all again, but I think Clone Wars it's above Rebels to me. One main reason, because it's all still George Lucas, and like he's still,
That's true.
He proved for 5, I guess 6 kind of years, counting the Lost Missions episodes. He's still the best. He's still the master creator. You can't. It's hard to beat him. And then he created Ahsoka. He brought back Maul. He expanded, with the help of Filoni, expanded the Mandalorian culture, and we got amazing episodes of those wars on Mandalore. Satine, Obi-Wan, and Ventress. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then, with the help of his writers, of course, he did the stories with Quinlan Vos that gave us Dark Disciple. So, it's just incredible. I mean, the team working on that, and George Lucas's mind to guide them and to help create these stories is phenomenal. And also, excuse me, I'm a huge fan of James Arnold Taylor, and he and Matt Lantern just always delivered amazing performances. And I think they were. It's just, it made for incredible entertainment. So overall, Clone Wars pretty much has everything going for it. But that is to say, also Rebels, love Freddie Prinze Jr. Never would have guessed he would be in this show, that show. But he made Kanan awesome. He was fantastic. And the other, I met voice of Zeb. I met, that's the only one. Unfortunately, it's the only one from the cast that I met. So, but all those guys did amazing work on that show. So and they got to bring back Ian McDiarmid. Like, that's just crazy cool. Yeah. It seems like Rebels has a lot of fan service going for it, which I love. But Clone Wars has so much of just the narrative behind it that is just incredible. So yeah, I think Clone Wars is above Rebels to me as well.
Yeah, I think Rebels, they, you talk about significance of the Clone Wars, like with the characters and stuff like that. I mean, in Rebels too, you get that, and in I kind of feel like, I don't know. I kind of felt like it would have meant a lot more if you saw more of the formation of the Alliance, because we got it, but we got it from just one perspective, and it kind of just got formed together. Where when they ran across Mothma, but I want more of how it actually came. Like, we never really saw the Alliance form, right? Like, all of a sudden it was kind of
we always saw glimpses. It's like it was advertised as this small band of these rebels before they're actually called the Alliance. And so we saw this Ghost Crew, and it was very isolated in Lothal. And then for like the bulk of the show of the series, it's like they're taking off Lothal and they're getting involved with everything else, and thus making it harder to explain how they are around, because they're becoming more and more important every episode to the overall creation of the Alliance. So we almost need to see like that political side of it.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So, because it seems like you finally somehow all of these different rebel cells joined together and said, okay, let's formalize this into some military operation. You're in charge. You're the captains. You're generals. You're da-da-da-da. Yeah. And then they had that. I mean, you saw in Rogue One, they had the council, the leadership council. So somehow those people came together and said, we're forming a rebel alliance. But even at that point, they were scared as hell, because they were all willing to say, it's over. Yeah. Death Star is going to destroy us. We're done. So it's like, it wasn't even that strong until Jyn stole the Death Star plans. So
there's all these small little
so all these
skirmishes,
correct,
big all out war.
That were technically, it seemed like they were all still pretty afraid of the Empire. So I would have liked to see a little bit more of that, and maybe we could at some point, but But we saw in Clone Wars also what that had going for it was that was something that was mentioned in the original movie.
Yeah, true.
So for 20 years or whatever, or almost 30 years,
Yeah,
you
close to 30. Yeah,
had to imagine what the Clone Wars were, right? And you finally got the Clone Wars, which even again you didn't think you were going to get when you saw Episode 2. You saw the beginning of the Clone Wars.
yeah.
Episode 3, you saw the end of it. So it was like, oh man, we didn't get 3 years.
3 years.
It's like where the. So it was really, like you said, George is really brilliant on his point. His to make this series to show the growth of Anakin, the hints of what but not only, and again, the storylines like Mortis, introducing stuff like that, and introducing Yoda with the Force Ghost, and it's like the prophetesses, yeah. I mean, it's like there's so much, Force mythology that got introduced in that series also, that changed how you think of the original trilogy, when that series comes in. So, yeah, I just, I liked what they did with the Clone Wars, and I agree with you. I think it may have come down to George Lucas being a part of it because he's George Lucas.
Yeah.
So anyway, just some food for thought out there for you all about whether or not you're more into the Clone Wars or Rebels. We'll see what the next animation series brings us and what time period they're hitting on. But I'm with a lot of you out there still. I believe that it'd be nice, although I don't believe it's going to happen, it'd be nice to still get some type of closure with the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, Rebels might be what Filoni thinks is the closure for it, but I still think that there's something you could do that could close it out and lead right into Episode 3, kind of thing,
Cool.
Yeah, so anyway.
Almost be cool if they did like a video game with those stories.
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. I'll enjoy that.
Did I mention on here? I think I did. Did I mention about that whole the whole thing about with like the unfinished episodes, those Bad Batch?
I don't know if you mentioned on here. We've talked about it.
Okay.
Oof, can't remember.
Well, I apologize if
she said.
Yeah, so I apologize if we're kind of repeating ourselves, but there was a thread on Twitter, and I'll see if I can quickly pull it up because I think I liked it. All right.
I might have mentioned it with Cody. I think you did.
Really?
I think so. Just give a quick summary of it, I guess.
So basically, it was Leland Chi mentioning, someone mentioned about is Rebels, or is the unfinished Clone Wars episode basically considered canon? Here it is. So someone said, someone mentioned at Herder tweeted, are the Vong in the Star Wars, in the Clone Wars unfinished content canon? You remember you were there, right? Weren't you there at Celebration when they introduced that? Were you at that celebration? Where they showed the Vong ship?
Oh, no.
In unfinished.
Not that one, sorry.
Okay.
Not that one.
So I didn't know what it was at first until someone mentioned it, like the Vong. It was like this big ship they were going to introduce in the Clone Wars. Unbelievable. So they had the artwork for it. So people were freaking out over that, right? So he's asking, are the Vong in the Clone Wars unfinished content canon? Matt Martin, who's on the story group, says there isn't any content out with them in it, meaning that there's no released content with it. So basically, that's saying no, it's not canon unless it's released. Leland Chi responded saying, "General rule. So this is the general rule. If it doesn't appear in final content is the word.
Yeah.
It's not something we hold ourselves to in future content. So basically, they're saying that, as far as I'm reading that, that's saying that if it's not finished content, then it's able to be overwritten or dismissed as non-canon. Is that kind of how you read that?
Yep.
Again, general rule, if it doesn't appear in final content, it's not something we hold ourselves to in future content. So I tweeted out, as Inside the Force, I tweeted back and said, what about Crystal Crisis and Bad Batch? Are those considered final content? And Leland Shee, thank you, Leland, for responding back. He said, nope. Do we allow ourselves to use that material in other content? ? Absolutely. So what's he saying there? He's saying, in my opinion, he's saying, no, those are not considered. He's answering my question. No, those are not considered final content. Going back to the general rule, if it doesn't appear in final content, it's not considered canon. And then he says, do we allow ourselves to use that material in other content? Absolutely. Meaning, in my opinion, is that the storyline, like in Crystal Crisis, when they find this big kyber crystal, right? It's like that storyline of what happened there could be referenced and talked about in like a novel or a comic, therefore making it canon. But those actual episodes are not canon.
Right.
Does that make sense, I guess? Yeah. So, so in my mind, unfinished content is not canon. So that series is not necessarily canon, in my opinion. Now, again, if you look at the chronological order of the Clone Wars, they list it as part of the order. Now, again, the story is canon. The story of all everything that's happened in the Clone Wars, and then even Dark Disciples on there, those stories are all canon. You can watch them to enjoy the story of it, but I don't think it's canon.
As of now, it's not. It's like tentatively canon.
Right.
It's like it's.
Why wouldn't you just finish those episodes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just make it canon and finish them. Because they're actually pretty good, but it's hard to get through.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Thanks for checking us out, everybody. Great episode this week. We will be back next week, like I said, in our new digs. I won't have the whole thing set up in there, but I'll at least have our table and our mics and everything. So, but we will get some new material out there for you as soon as I get in there and we get settled. And of course, we're going to be just one more week closer to Solo, which comes out in May 25th. So appreciate it. Follow us at Inside the Force on social media, and go to InsideTheForce.com to check out all of our episodes as well as reviews and from Russell on all the comics and all that good stuff. He's Kryptonian1138 on Twitter. I'm DCottingham21 on Twitter. See you guys next week for Case Cooley.
At the height of their powers, they allowed Darth Sidious to rise, create the Empire, and wipe them out. You actually referenced that earlier.
I did.
But I was thinking that it was the coolest reference to me in that film.
Yes.
Finally, they referenced the prequels.
They did.
In a substantial way. And Darth Sidious. So it's like, when does he learn that? I just want to know that story, too. Like, when he learns who Darth Sidious is and that whole history.
And when did Rey find out?
Yeah,
about
and is it kind of common knowledge, or is she told somehow that we don't see it? Like, is she given a rundown? I don't know. Maybe Luke told her why he's. I
don't know.
So yeah, there's still gaps. It's like just for the sake of knowledge, I want to know. So.
Yep, me too.
Cool, very cool.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great week. We will check you guys out next week. He's Casey.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave. May the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to Inside the Force, a Star Wars podcast hosted by David Cottingham and Casey Cooley. For more shows, additional content, articles, and the latest Star Wars news, please visit InsideTheForce.com. Inside the Force. For the Force in all of us.